Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TimingResearch.com Analyze Your Trade episode for May 3rd, 2022. We are recording this at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and this is episode number 194. My name is David Cosbitter. I'm the creator of Timing Research, and today I have arranged for Harry Boxer to join us again. And so you should be seeing his charts right now. And the option professor is back to moderate, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
Okay, sounds great. Good to have everybody here. We had a nice turnaround yesterday. Let's see how we're doing here today. Before we get started and get into all the different stocks you got about 15 here that people have put in. Let's get familiar with Harry Boxer, who's with us now. He's got a chat room he's going to talk about. And Harry, a little quick background on yourself before we get started.
Well, yeah, believe it or not, I've just turned 75. I've been doing this for over 50 years. Actually, it's 60 now. Since I've been a teenager, I've been studying charts and doing technical analysis, and I read all the books that you can possibly read, and been mentored by a couple very prestigious people in Wall Street. I wrote a book called Profitable Day in Swing Trading 7 years ago. The Trader's Almanac called it the best new technical analysis book of 2015. I have a website called Thetechtrader.com. It's a pretty cool site where hundreds of people are on there, very astute traders that are mostly technically oriented, that are able to come up with ideas that even I haven't seen during the day. The beauty of the site is that we have so many people watching the markets, all watching for moves, that we rarely miss anything in the market that is on the move, and are able to trade it technically with my guidance. I invite everybody who's listening to come in for free for 10-day trial, no credit card necessary. I don't believe you can go come in and view what we have and take a look at the site, and probably make enough money to cover a year or two of your subscriptions. I had a guy email me this afternoon saying, in 3 days in your trial, I made enough for 3 years worth of your website subscription costs. So I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway. And I hear that a lot, because the ideas we put out there are pretty awesome. Let me give you just one quick one. Today we put out a day trade on BVW, that's blue water vaccines, which exploded from the coil, and when it started to break out right there, we put a day trade on about 455. Within a few hours of talk this afternoon, it's 712. And although I wouldn't say this kind of trade emerges every day, at least 2 or 3 times a week we see these kind of trades. And there's quite a few other trades that we had today that did very, very well. I can give you some examples a little later on, but the bottom line is it's a really fun place and very professional place where you can listen to a bunch of traders that really know what they're doing, including myself, and you have the freedom to private message any of them with questions and for advice.
Sure. And after we get through these stocks, we'll spend some time maybe where you could explain about some of the scanning features that you have on the left that could come in very handy for people who maybe they don't have that on their screen. So that'd be another good advantage of going to the chat room.
Okay.
All right, let's get started here. We got first one up is SBLK. It's Star Bulk Carriers. This is something that I thought was a pretty good idea since it was about 10 or 15 bucks. It still looks pretty good today. What do you think?
Well, actually, when I saw this V bottom with a platform here back in 20, and it broke out at the end of November, I put a swing on it, and the swing took us into I believe with the high teens on it. I think right about there, 17 range is where I exited the stock. Could have got more out of it, obviously. I never got back into it, unfortunately, but I did trade some other shipping stocks like DAC, for example. Look at this one. It's only gone from 3 to 110, and it's typical of a lot of stocks. This is probably the sleeper group of the last 2 years, in my opinion. Very few people paid attention to the shippers, but they had phenomenal run as a group. This one in particular, what I like about it is the key high volume breakout and 2 months of consolidation. But I would say, no question, you need to get this one across these tops. If you get it over 30, 2.5, then my projected move on it would be approximately mid-channel line around 38.40 in that zone there, then maybe more. I don't think this group is done, but I'd be careful on any group or stock that's gone from 5 or 6 into the 30 range, because when you're up 5-6 fold, you're subject to downdrafts. Stop should be on this one for sure under that triple bottom around 25.
Sure. Next one up was a real dog for the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio, KHC, Kraft Heinz. It was hanging around that 30 mark for a long time, and now it seemed to have gotten some legs. But what do you think from here?
Well, if I go back several years, this is a daily chart. I see a left shoulder, a head and right shoulder with big inverse head and shoulders, and the neckline and breakout was there. The measured move on it was 45. Look what it hit. 44.95.
Yeah.
And then came down to the breakout point at the neckline around there, actually broke through and formed what looks like potentially another left shoulder head and right shoulder, but more of a retest, spike up, pull back. Now it's testing the 2021 44.95 range. A week ago, it tagged 44.48. So basically, this is a big resistance zone in here. Why is this not cooperating? There it is.
Is the volume drying up a little bit on this rally up toward 45?
Yep, and that's the other thing. You've gotten a rally to a previous high on lower volume. That is not necessarily good, but there's a lot of green bars. And this dotted line I have here is your unbalanced volume, which is making new highs, and it's confirming the trend. But what I would do, no question, is put a stop right there. In other words, if you long the stock, stop under 40.5 roughly, or 40 in that range, because you want to protect yourself from any moves back down to the mid or low 30s. On a long-term basis, really long-term basis, this is the stock that had got crushed from 97 all the way down to 20 at the March 2020 low. So I would say that from a measured move standpoint, this has the ability to move probably into the mid 60s on an intermediate to longer term basis.
Next guy up is Freeport McMoran, and Freeport McMoran is FCX. And this was the one that people favor because of obviously infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. And they also think obviously the supplies are rather limited to this thing, this copper. So, but it had a big run to 52 and it kind of gave it up. Is this over or what?
It might be. I'll tell you what, this was one of my best swing trades in the last couple of years. I gave to my people when it broke out here. I think it was 13 and it ran to 52. And it was a 300% gainer in about a year and a half. This I don't like. The intermediate trend was broken hard, not just broken, but it broken hard with big volume on the downside. When I see this kind of downside thrust to break a trend, taking out the moving average, lateral price support and trend line, my people were stopped on this one at 47.25, 47 range. That's where I told them to break through there, you break through everything. Sure enough, it came down from the bear flag. And quite frankly, if you don't get a bull phase in this market, even if we do, it looks to me like this could be in mid 30s again. Got to be careful with this.
Yeah. With regards to the next one, I really haven't heard this one too much. Ultra Bloomberg Crude Oil ETF. It's a UCO. Today it's down about $6. Not exactly sure what these guys are up to. What do you think?
Well, the UCO, I followed closely with the USO. And they're both exactly the same in terms of patterns. Take a look. Forming bull coils.
Okay.
And from the standpoint of oil, with supply and demand, everything else, I think on a normal basis in a recession, that this oil will be coming down. I told all my people, because we were trading this, and Gush is a double oil and gas. Check this chart out, man. It literally went from 13 to 202. And look at the bear flag that's forming, and maybe a left. Yeah. So this, to me, as well as these here, you got to be careful. If you trade the US UCO, I would stop it on the 144. There's a double bottom there anyway. If you draw a line across these lows, you'll see that support comes in right here. Stop on the 141. That'll protect you from any bigger slide on the upside, and move over 180.83 range could send this rocketing into the mid 200s, but I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, it's kind of on a ledge here a little bit, huh?
Yep.
Tesla got a good bounce when it was reported, I guess, that he might not be using all his Tesla stock as collateral for the Twitter buy, and so it had a nice little pop. But what do you think?
I think two things to consider. Here's a long-term trend line. Note that after not touching it for a year and a half, 2 years, it touched it there, almost there, came down to it there. If it breaks this low, I think you can see the stock at 700, and you may see it back to, it's possible we can see the stock at 555 again. This looks bearish to me. especially if this pattern develops into a wedge or bear wedge. Anytime you break down and volume picks up and then you rally and the volume is lower, it's always a bearish sign. I think the trend may be changing on Tesla. I'd be awfully careful. The only way I'd be bullish again is if it went over 975 with volume and resurrected the trend, but it has to hold here as well. So you must stop under 815.20.
Yeah, there was some talk on Bloomberg about Musk getting involved in mining Bitcoins in Texas with a couple of other companies, and maybe distractions like that could be the downfall of the guy, you know?
Yeah, you are correct.
Next one up is LAC.
Lithium, America.
Lithium. Yep.
I follow this group very closely. This one and one of my favorites is LTHM. Very similar charts. Live end. And look how they came down, bounced, rallied, and bounced again. But the line in the sand is right here, folks. You can't let this go into 22.5, 3/4. Actually, 24 is support right now. You break 24, you're likely to take out 22.5, 3/4, and then you're in trouble. Until I see, look, you can hold the stock with a tight stop under 23.5 in that range. I don't want it below that because then it gets ugly. And again, it's another stock that has come off the highs. There's a double top up here. There and there. And so unless this with drama and volume takes this falling wedge and breaks back to the upside, I would have to say first sign of good sign would be over 28 3/4, 29. If it does that with volume, I'm looking at targets at 33 and 40 again, but I need to see this give a thrust to the upside, not just a little bounce. Here's a little bounce. You notice this bouncing here came on very low volume compared to where it was a year. If you do that again, you're likely to get a move down to take out support and drop into the $20 range. So I'd be careful. Long term, look, here's a stock that went from 2 to 40 and then some. I think the high was 40. Yeah. So 2 to 40, you got a 20-fold increase. That's very vulnerable to at least a pullback on a long-term basis into the mid to high teens, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to jump down the list here a little because we're talking about EV type stocks. And let's look at a charge point, CHPT, because a lot of this industry seems to be under pressure. And
well, what makes you think so? The stock's only gone from what, 49 to
right. So I mean, are we? But again, there are some people talking about a big rally when the Fed comes out, and they're going to be a little bit more dovish, and it's going to back everybody off of this these things that are way sold off, and you're going to get this magic rally.
Well, I do.
LAC and this would be two candidates for things that got sold way off, and maybe there could be a short-term short covering type rally. Similar
to Blink charging.
Yeah.
Blink is down near the lowest level in about a year and a half. In the 19 range when the stock traded as high as 64. So you can see that there was all the fad right there on all of these stocks.
CHPT charge point.
Yeah, and this one, about same thing at that period of time, November, December, when everything was hot, went all the way up into the high 40s, 49.5. And now down at, just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's right. But I will say that your support and any further downside movement is about 11.5, and resistance is 16.5, and then 2021 zone. So that would be targets for you if you're interested in a snapback into that zone, about 16.5 and 20. But I don't like this chart, and to me, I don't bottom pick until they turn around with energy.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a rally out of the blue, God bless you, but there's nothing really to hang your hat on right here.
Well, if I saw a reversal bar like it had back here at the end of February, which really triggered that trend, then maybe I'd be more interested. It's a lot like this. The LABU, the biotech, look at this, and everybody, this stock's gone from 185 to 8, 185 to 8, and it can't rally. This is biotech, but I think when they do, there's a lot of room to run. Look at the huge volume 3 of the last 4 days on the upside on LABU. I'm very high on the potential. If this gets over 960, I'm going long for a move to 12, 14, 17, etc. I think that's a good one. But back to the charge point for a minute. Unless it shows me what I need to see, which I haven't seen yet, there's plenty better looking charts out there.
Yeah.
And even the XPEV in that group, and the in NEO, These two automotive, electric vehicle, automotive stock, V bottoms, breakaway gaps, they run up to targets, pull back down, and are now hovering after filling a gap right there, just about filling a gap. So I think these are better ideas for me, NEO and XPEV than ChargePoint.
And some of the China stocks like BABA and the tech stocks have been getting a bid because maybe they're getting closer to coming out and going to normalize their situation. And if that happens, there could be a good bid on some of these Chinese stocks, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of them that I'm looking at. Here's another one, Billy, which is huge volume on the upside when it goes, lower volume on the downside when it pulls back. So this is something that over 26 I'd be aggressive with.
The industrial metals have had a pretty good time of it, and they had a pretty good day today as well. Nucor is NUE.
That's
And
steel.
is the pullback over here, or what do you think?
It's right on support. I would say this: if you bought it, stop on the 143. Then you're going to get one target is 163. But this looks like a left shoulder head, and if the right shoulder forms, it could be over for this group. Look how heavy the downside volume is in 5 of the last 8 days. Very heavy downside selling. So maybe they can bounce, but I got to tell you, if it bounces on low volume to 158.62 zone, it's a short, not a long. Those are my thoughts.
And of course, the copper with Freeport would be in the same genre where maybe they're thinking recession or something like that, and a slowdown in demand, something like that. Next guy up on deck, AWK.
Okay. American Waterworks. Geez, again, a stock that broke support, rallied back through it slightly, and then rolled over. It's very vulnerable, in my opinion. Look at the, see, this is the money stream that shows me the accumulation distribution. This stock is being sold heavily, and although it's oversold short term, it might get a bounce off of here, which it just did today. I wouldn't stay long with this one. I'd be a seller 158.63 if it, I'm sorry, 158.61 zone, right through here where there's tops and bottoms. In there is my resistance. If it does do a fib retracement of about a 0.618 fib, and it does it quickly, but it does it on low volume, out. I wouldn't stay long. I wouldn't let moss grow under my feet on this one.
Yeah. It has some support around that 145, maybe to get a bounce, huh?
Well, it's already bounced today from 146 to 149, but hit 53 at the high. Not a great climb. This is too many negative technicals.
All right, oil servicing definitely had a good day today, and this group has been doing pretty good overall. So, what are we thinking here?
Dangerous, all of them, every one of them. Like I'm very high and made a lot of money for my people with APA, Oxy, Gush, a lot of the ETF, etc. But every one of these is showing trend line breaks, breakaway gaps, increasing volume, and then this. This is a bear flag, or call it a bear wedge, whatever you want to call it. Bottom line is, if this breaks, it completes a hidden shoulder type top, whatever you want to call it. But the vulnerability on this one is to 229 and maybe even down to 198 if the oil market really comes down. Now, it may be held up because of what's going on with the war. God forbid the war ends, they're going to kill oil. That's my opinion.
Yeah. They break oil down to 80. This thing's going to be in the bin, huh?
Yeah, about 100, about 2. I wouldn't be surprised to see it down 50 to 70 points if that occurs.
Well, here's another transportation one. JB Hunt, I believe this was his JBHT.
Yeah, this is on my box of shorts list. I want to show you something. You can't be more blatant than a big long uptrend, a trend line break with big volume on the downside. Look at the volume. This right there is the thrust that broke the back of this trend. You went through multiple bottoms. You broke the trend line all in one day.
Yeah.
And you did it with record volume, 2.7 million shares. Show me another day where it had that kind of volume, but you have to go back a year and a half for that kind of volume. Then it forms a bear flag, and it broke today. But with the market bouncing, this one came back. So nice. But I don't see anything here. And look how low the volume was, by the way, on this bounce. Not a good sign. If it was big volume, and look, maybe if it gets back above this little triple top here, say take out 177, that also takes out the moving average. If she get to above that with big volume, I change my mind. Now I'm bearish. I would rather go short and cover at 155, maybe even 140.
Yeah, UPS had announced that their package count was way down last report. So if packages are down at UPS, maybe the shipping at JB Hunt isn't so hot either. Next one up is Apple.
Well, out of all the stocks of the NASDAQ generals, lately this has acted the best, believe it or not. Even though it's down from 179 to 153 at the low. So you lost 26 points, which is a lot at 15%, but many of these others are down 40 and 50%. Now, I will change my mind on Apple bullishly if it takes out 150, because then who knows where it goes. Your next major target is 139.40, and then down, you're talking about 130 again. I don't know if that occurs. Too many people like Apple, too many institutions hold it, but again, in the last 2 days, this engulfing, this reversal bar and close at the high, and then a little bit of a dip up again. Apple has to resurrect the trend by taking out 165.5 with volume, and then you have resistance at 171. So 165, 171 resistance, support 153, and then beneath that at 149.5.
You feel any gut feeling on this May possibly being this big short covering rally month? Do you get any vibe like that, or it's way premature?
Well, normally they'd say sell in May and go away.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful that the market, and I saw a couple of interviews today on some very bright hedge fund managers that had the same feeling that I had, which made me feel better, that a lot of this is discounted. If you look at the tech stocks, and this is a stealth bear market. If you're a low to medium price stock, you've lost 70 to 90%. I'm not kidding. I see so many stocks down 90% from like 60 to 6, 80 to 8, those kind of things.
Right.
Prevalent. The market is washed out, and people are calling for a bear market. I'm thinking, really? Well, maybe and the other thing is, when the big boys crack, like the semiconductors and all the groups that were hot, the agricultural input stocks, you know, when you get this, and shipping stocks started to break, when you got the strongest groups breaking, it's usually the tail end of every bear phase. So maybe we can turn this market around, but I'm a day trader and a swing trader, and I look for short-term moves anyway. So I'm not that, I don't really care that much about what the market's doing, but it is better.
Exactly.
It's better
because you're
trade
trying to work with the defined time frame that you got in front of you.
Right, but you also want to be trying to trade in the direction of the market, ideally.
Yeah, this NVTA, just to discuss a stock that went way down. Is there any idea that there could be a turn here? Because this just seems way discounted for a company that makes all this money.
It might be discount. By the way, I put out a swing on this stock at 39, right in here when it broke out. And it was one of our biggest winners ever because it went from 39. That's actually a split stock. This is the equivalent of 700 back out to high.
Yeah, that's split. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at 346 to 185. And that's because of semiconductor craze. And it is, to me, the best company in the industry. I love this company.
Right.
I also like AMD. I used to hate it, but for that stock to go from 3 to 160, and things have changed. And then they took over Xilinx. There's a lot of pluses for these two stocks, two of my favorites, but the technicals aren't good. We broke a quadruple bottom. We did it with a pickup in volume, and we were barely bouncing it here. I mean, to me, NVIDIA's got to take out 210, 12, and then 230 to really be meaningful. Right now, there's a possibility, if it fails here, it's going to test and or take out 175 and maybe drop down into the 150, 60 range, and I would mortgage my house and buy it there. I think it's, you know, it's really
this next one, TSE, that might have showed up on short-term traders because it bottomed out around 45 and started to take off a little bit. Is there something happening here brewing?
Well, there's so many stocks that look better than this. I mean, every day I come up, I show my people. You should see the swing trades that I have out there now in terms of what the charts look like. I would much rather be, look, if you buy the stock now or you own it now, you may be in for a up and down and up and down and up and down, just like it's been doing for the last year for another year. So why be in anything that doesn't have a positive trend and isn't breaking out? Why try to bottom pick or buy a stock because you think it's cheap and then find out a year later it's even cheaper?
Right. It is getting some legs, but it seemed to be in a confined range a little bit, huh?
Well, I don't think the stock goes anywhere until it gets over 54 with volume. Look at the underlying technicals down here. They're drifting on the bottom of the chart like a catfish on the bottom of a river. This is not, there's nothing there. There's no energy in the stock.
The reopening trade coming up, CZR, Caesars, It seems to be having a little bit of a hard time getting any traction.
Well, quite frankly, I put it on my short list, and here's why. I'm aware of that the stock. This is actually El Dorado. They took over.
Yeah,
CG.
exactly.
Right. So note this low here, this low here, and this low here, and then it cracked. So it went through a topping pattern, rallied back to the declining top line, and it's been in a down channel ever since. You want to be in a stock that's in this channel or a stock that's in this kind of channel. Right now, you don't know where the bottom's going to be on this. It wouldn't shock me to see 58.60 down here to test the pullback low from back in November 20. But when a stock's in a downtrend, the thing about any stock or any index, it always goes further than you think it's going to go. That's up and down. So when you're in a downtrend, it can stay in a downtrend for the next 2 years. It could be 35.40 in the next year if this keeps up. Okay. But so then what do? You wait at least for a prior high to be taken out. And that would include a move above 73 with volume. I would prefer over 75 because that's where the moving average is and the declining top line. So any move that takes out this zone right there with energy, I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the way I trade. I trade stocks that have upside momentum and are breaking out, have turned around and proved that they've turned around with energy.
Now on the gaming front, what about LVS? They're going to open up Macau at some point, and won't these things possibly fly?
Again, Jim, you're talking.
But I'm just saying that's just a broad conversation. What does it look like on the charts?
Right, but I'm saying I just, to me, fundamentals will prevent you from buying and selling a stock. And
oh yeah.
Technically is why I'm interested in something.
Yeah.
Now, the positives are a V bottom off the bottom of the channel, a breakaway gap, a run up to resistance, a pullback, and it's kind of like this is called the V bottom of the right-handed extension. It's a three-wave corrective. Easy to stop under 33.5. Excuse me. The upside targets of 40, 44, 48. And again, you're anticipating today was not a good day for the stock.
No.
And so,
but if you were closing above 41, you'd say that might be a little bit of a green light. And if it closes above 48, you've got a bright green light.
Yeah. And if above 41, it breaks out of the base. And it's better to do it with volume like this. I don't want to see low volume in a breakout.
Yeah.
Could be a head fake.
Yeah. So you'd want to see good volume, break those numbers. You might be onto something because this is a heavily discounted stock. I mean, isn't it down about 50% at least?
Well, depends from what peak you're talking about. But here.
Yeah. So it's a half price deal, and their main business has been shut down because nobody's left their apartments. So when they leave their apartments, it's possible maybe this thing could go. That's why it's worth monitoring at least,
Well, I'll be in Las Vegas May 11th if anybody wants to come see me.
All right. Last one is SOUN.
Yeah, I know it. We traded it. It's a new issue. Best shown on a 5-minute chart. So after SoundHound, right? A big day today. And we traded.
Yeah, 15% today.
But let me show you something. 15% is after the drop. Take a look at where it was in the morning. It gapped up and formed a falling wedge. And when it broke out right there, we put a buy on it at 1270. It popped up and pulled back again. But notice one thing. All day, the stock made higher lows and higher highs until there. That's when it broke. And that's where I told people to stop on the 15.5. It closed at 1258 from a high of 18 and change. So you got to be, when you're trading these volatile Momo stocks, you better be putting stops in because you're going to ask for big problems if you catch it wrong. So we made some good money with it today because it popped here, it came down to support, and it popped again. But the bottom line is most of my people got out of it earlier. Anyway, so that's SoundHound. What I would do with it now, that's a tough call because we don't have a lot of chart data. But here's a stock that went 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. And the bottom line is it's in a rising channel. If it isn't done momentum-wise, well, the one thing you really got to pay attention to. Any spike high, prior high is always a support when broken. Look at this. This high, this gap, this pullback low, here, and here, and here. So it's been testing 12.5. If it breaks it, you're looking at an $8 stock again. You got to be really careful. I would personally wait for the stock to take out 1365 above there, and then maybe trade it. But your resistance is 14.5, 15.75, and 18 and change.
You were mentioning AMD. I'm just looking at some of the more actively talked about stocks today. AMD was on the list. Is there something happening there?
Well, earnings are coming out, I think after the close, or maybe they came out already. Let's see. 1 minute chart. Yeah, earnings came out tonight. They probably were good. The stock popped. See it?
Oh yeah, sure.
It went up 4 points or 5 points. But more importantly, it's coming out of a falling wedge, falling channel pattern. The
Right.
problem is, and I talked to my people today about this, 99 to 100 has been support for 9 months. Well, it broke it there. It came down from 99 to 84, losing 15 more points. And today it popped after hours. But until then, if it gets over 99 again to 100 with volume, I can't be long the stock because it might just be a big 1, 2, 3. And then this is 4 and 5 is coming. It's a tough call. Also, the one possibility is take a look how long this chart has been, how far this stock has come.
Yeah.
Okay. It came literally from $1.60 in 2016 to 6 years later, 160 or 100 times your money. Okay. So it's extremely vulnerable to the downside if the market ever breaks. My next target, and where I'd be much more aggressive, is these multiple bottoms in the mid 70s.
74.
I'm not kidding. If the market breaks down and we have another bear phase, this could easily get into the high, mid to high 70s, perhaps, maybe low 80s.
Yeah, it's very volatile. What about Zymeworks? Another one that's pretty popular today on there. ZYME.
I do like what I saw yesterday. That was a big pop off the low. But again, take a look. 833, 785, 788. So let's say that. It's got to get above 785, 88 with energy to get going. And even then you have, well, what that will do, it'll break lateral price support. It'll also take out this declining tops line. So that may be a breakout pending, but this is a bullish inside day. Again, if it takes out 790 with volume, my target is going to be 9 and 11 for starters.
And this NVTA.
Yeah, I remember they got killed.
A little bit of a move out of there, but
Well, how about 60 to 4 handle? Okay.
yeah.
And then a little bit of move the last 2 days, but it's an oversold pop. It's like it did there, and then it rolled over. But I think it is washed out, quite frankly. I'm cautioning everybody. When you see a stock is in a downtrend, it looks cheap. Now, if this stock, I'm going to go show you something. Did it look cheap there with big volume on the downside at 10? Yeah, it did. And it started to bounce, right? Everyone got excited. And down goes Frazier. Up, it cut in half from there, 9 to 4.5. So never try to bottom pick a stock because you never know if it's going to go lower or not. Only time to buy a stock is when the trend has changed, when the moving averages, declining tops line, and lateral price resistance all get taken out. For safety, I'm looking at the stock at least $8 or $9 with volume and maybe more before I get interested, because then you can start to see 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 again. And it's got a long way to go from 60. A lot of room to run back up again. So why not wait till the trend's been reestablished to the upside and not try to bottom pick and get your ass handed to you, as they say.
There's a stock that's heavy into the Bitcoin, MSTR, and they started to sell off. And is there a sell opportunity here where it could start really accelerating to the downside? Because these guys have borrowed money to buy Bitcoin, and they've loaded up with their free cash flow on Bitcoin. And so if Bitcoin were to break it all, obviously.
It's not just that. How about, I told everybody to short this stock because I know this company, this is BS. I cannot believe that they took, although we traded it, I can't believe that they took this stock from 51 cents. I kid you not. Are you standing up? 51 cents to 79.5. And it's back to 10. And it could actually go back to single digits, maybe 4 or 5 again. That's one. And then Mara is the quality company in that group. But even that one, get this, 83.45 to 16. And it's just breaking down. Here's a stock that could go down to, single digits. So I'd be careful with anything Bitcoin right now. I just think it was way overdone. It took a long time to top out, but they've all breaking down. Let's be awfully careful. Again, no reason to buy any stock in a downtrend. No reason to buy any stock in a downtrend.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stocks still in uptrends, believe it or not.
Yeah. And they don't have to be bad values just because they're in an uptrend. Everybody thinks that, things that are on the canvas, they're good values, but you can have good
by the
values
way,
on things that are rising as well.
On MSTR, your support's 307, 335, and then 307. Beneath that, 260 is your target.
The volume telling you not too much, though. It's not really a
Yeah,
tremendous.
it's telling me that a rally here, this rally there, was a large bear flag, and it did it on lower volume as it comes down in heavy. See, when a stock changes characteristics from breaking down on heavy volume and rallying on low volume, then then it's very likely establish a new trend. This is what the trend looks like now. I bet dollars to donuts. That's your target zone down there, 230 to 250 zone.
And one last one here that they're talking about is Lyft. It also is losing altitude. A lot of guys are promoting Uber. Maybe are they going to be maybe squeezed out by Uber?
Well, Lyft earnings came out tonight.
Oh, okay.
And you can see that's why it popped. It got up to 33. It dropped down to 28 and change. Uber's not lifting, is it? I mean, Lyft is not lifting.
No.
Yeah, this is the lowest level on its stock since October 20. So, and there was a gap in there that it filled already. When you fill a gap and you can't rally, you got a problem. I think the stock may be headed for high 20s. No, low 20. 23 is my target. Yep.
And one of the listeners here did have one EQT.
That's an oil stock.
Yeah. So let's see what he's.
Well, I mean, it's a great chart. Look, like anything else in the oil sector, all you got to do is one thing's very simple. See the pullback low? If it's this pullback low, this pullback low, this pullback low, every one of them made a higher low. So it's not rocket science to figure out that under 37 3/4, right there is your stopping point, because you don't want to see it at 33 or 28 or back down in that zone, 23.4. It's possible. On the other side of the coin, it had a good day today. I don't trust today's day in oil. I don't trust it, but we'll see.
Yeah. And it has a reverse of a formation that you like a lot, which is generally a stock that is at a run up, then it pulls back, and then the next rally through that high point really accelerates. This could be on the downside where it made a high point, came down. If it can't take out that 45 number and starts taking out 36.75, you'd be thinking there could be an acceleration down.
Right. You see the trend line? It's simple as this. This is either a pullback in an ongoing uptrend, or it's the first indication with a cluster of 4 or 5 days of selling in here that it may be ready to be sold. So you can stay long, but with a stop under 37.5 3/4.
Yeah, because it's right there in no man's land between the 2 points, huh?
Yep.
LABU, somebody wanted you to expound on your opinions on LABU.
Okay. Well, first of all, again, you're bottom picking here, and this is why I didn't tell anybody in particular that to go bullish. I said you can put your toe in, and the reason is this: when a stock comes down from 185 down to 8 and change, what's the low here? 775, even better. That day was a record volume, and it reversed to the upside. So it tells me that a lot of institutional money, 47 million shares on a reversal day. Now it came down the next day, but notice the volume came down. Then they rallied back again, the volume picked up. Today, back down again, it's time with a pickup in volume. Well, it really isn't down, it's off a penny. So it's kind of flat. Again, I told everybody, don't do anything with it until you see it over 960 with volume. And then my targets are 11.5, 13, 14 3/4, 15. Those are the targets I have on this one. But don't anticipate, because if this turns out to be continuing downtrend, it may be $4 or $5, and then they have to reverse split it like they do with these all the time.
Yeah. So it's close to a turn, but hadn't really showed you the full flash yet.
Yeah, and the underlying technicals down here, the money stream and balance of power are not showing me anything yet. Not enough.
Not enough. All right, why don't we go through, if you'd like to, first of all, maybe you want to explain some of your scanning over there on what you guys are kind of looking at, volume, percent change, post buzz, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm always
stuff
looking. When I get in the morning, I get in. Well, most Nobody does this on Wall Street, as far as I'm concerned. I get up at 3:40 LA time every morning. I'm on their site within 10 minutes, a quarter to 10 of 4 o'clock. And I'm on from 4 to 5:15 going through charts, news, taking a look, what's the thrusting with volume, what kind of percent gainers there are pre-market, and what kind of volume is accompanying them, and whether or not any of those charts are breaking out above key resistance levels and are maybe triggering a big move intraday for that day. And oftentimes we do get a nice day trade. For example, which I gave you before, BVW really wasn't going anywhere pre-market. It just happened to be by 11 o'clock, it started to move. And then one of my people, who's a real good trader, sent me a message saying, keep an eye on the stock. There was a nice volume pop there and it pulled back. We call that a high volume zone, often a precursor of another move. When it popped right there is when we started to really get long with it in the 4 range. And then it came down from the wedge and another coil. It broke out there and I reiterated buy at around 495. Eventually it went up to 7. My target was 7. That was my exit target. It got to 712 so everybody could get out. It's traded 6.25. But when I look at pre-market, I look at dozens of stocks and I come up with what we call a focus list. There's usually anywhere between 6 and 12 stocks on a focus list that I will issue a buy alert on, meaning this pattern is indicative of a chart or a stock that has the ability or propensity to make a big move during the day. Anywhere, I want to see stocks that are gapping, popping with a big thrust in volume, maybe some positive news. That's the only time I actually look at news, folks, is pre-market in the morning to see why a stock's popping and whether that news is so big that it has a strong potential for having that be a darn good day trade. And so I'll issue buy alerts. I'll put out specific buy alerts on stocks in the room with targets and stops. And I do that for every stock. And during the course of the day, I jump on and I have a live webinar. It's on all day from pre-market to the close, but I'm not always on it. Meaning I'm on it, it's open, you'll see me working my charts, drawing my lines, but you won't hear me until I do my updates, which are around 5 or 6 times a day. I'll come in, review the charts that we've been looking at, trading, and show people how a pattern may be developing, maybe a setup, and perhaps to keep your eye on this stock if it gets over XYZ, maybe a day trade. And I'll often issue, like I did today, late in the day, on this one. It was around here when it broke out. I put out a day trade on this one, the second day trade, at about 5.25, 5.5, and it made up to 7. So there's always a good potentials in good or bad markets.
You hold some of these things for more of a swing trade if it looks like you're onto something?
Exactly. If you take a look at the vast majority of my swing trades, you'll find that almost every one of them started out as a day trade when it broke out. And then subsequently, I will look at the pattern over a 3-week period and say, this has got this thrust that it began with big volume is signaling that the stock's going much higher, and it's probably a decent swing trade idea. And I'll post a swing trade separately.
One of the ones that we talked about last time you were here was seed, and it looks like it's starting to get some legs. SEED.
Well, I'm hearing that seed is about they're going to have their first conference call on Thursday in 5 years. Okay, and they're not coming to have a conference call after 5 years
To tell you bad news.
without having something significant to say. And I'm hearing it's huge contracts, and that this stock could. And by the way, there's only 3 million shares floating out of 20 million outstanding, something like that. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tops and a big wedge forming. When the stock pops, it's going to pop big time, like it did there or there. My opinion is it's going to pop and test 11, 12. If it gets through that, you're looking at 14 and maybe even 18. Take a look at this move from 290 to 14, and then this move from 8 and change to 27, 28, $28. So 20 points there. The two big moves, we caught them last year, and I'm telling you, this big pattern is a big base.
Well, you said the float. Are you saying that the other shares are just held with diamond hands? People aren't going to be trading them?
Float is simply the amount of shares in public hands. What I'm talking about is insiders and institutional holdings.
Right.
Those aren't the kind of people that normally would trade the stock. So the
If
actual
you get a good demand in a situation like that, you can squeeze it pretty good.
mean, look at the moves on the stock. I mean,
Yeah.
every time it pops, this even this little move here, took it from 7 to 14 in 3 days. And here it went from 4 to 8, and here from 5 to 12. So it doubles easily. I think it's going to double from here. How's that? 9 to 18.
What do you think causes the drops like from 9 to 5 and then of course right back up to 10? Is it news coming out from the company or just order imbalances or what?
Well, most of it is news from the company. This company is involved in genetically modified seeds that China is now actively involved in because they have how many billions of people? 1.4 billion people in China, I think it is.
Right, and they don't want to depend upon the weather only to get the food.
They've already said that they're moving towards genetically modified seeds for higher production, and this company Origin Agritech is on the front line of that research, and I think it's going to be it could. My people are telling me, my institutional guys who own it, that this could be 50 to 100 in the next 2 years if everything goes right.
Yeah, I mean it's got a good direction. It's got a good customer there.
Another stock I like is Zynex. Look at this chart. We ran this stock when it broke out here from 3 to 20 some odd. Was it 28? It came down. It broke out again. Look at the declining channel broke. It went through the moving averages. It's pulled back. It reversed today. I'm hearing big news is coming and that this stock could be substantially higher, but I don't care about news. I care about technicals. The technicals tell me this stock, if it gets through 7, 7.25, 7.5 is going to be in 9, 10, 11, 12 range. And there's a lot of room to go with a stock that's come down that far.
Any other ones that have come on the radar recently?
Well, I can show you some of my swing trades. Hang on, let me pull up the ideas.
That seed thing is very interesting.
It sure is. It's very interesting. And keep an eye on it. It's very thin, but I'm telling you.
Well, it's not like a software product that may or may not be used. You know, we're talking about food here.
Right. Here's another one that I'm watching closely, Aterian. And we made a lot of money with it here. As a matter of fact, it was one of our best swings ever. When I saw the pop, hold on a second, this thing really jumping around. It popped and came down from the wedge. And when it broke out here at 6, I went long. And within a week and a half, it was 19, triple your money in a week. We got out, all of us, on that spike high that day. And now it's broken out again. It ran up. I put a swing on it when it broke out here at about 3 and change, and it went up to 7. It's pulled back. And look at the wedge that's forming on it. It's almost similar to seed in a way. Low volume on the pullback, but the underlying technicals are very strong, telling me this is being accumulated. I'm looking for 7.5, 10, and 12 on the stock. 8.
What industry is this one in?
It's consumer electronics.
Consumer electronics.
A biotech I like, NKTX. Breakaway gap, that day it pulled back, I bought it in the 15 range. It got up to 20 and then backed up, but take a look at the consolidation. When a stock gaps this much and doesn't pull back and then starts to trend upward, it usually does continue the trend. I'm looking for 24 on the stock, about another 5-6 points. Eventually, if it breaks to that level, and that's some pretty key resistance, this could be much higher. Very big news from this company, I think, for Alzheimer's drug.
Yeah, if this sector can get going, maybe the AAPL might get above that resistance, you know?
Right. There's a couple of low price stocks in that sector that I really love. I'm accumulating a big position in this company called New Base Therapeutics. It's got, look, when it first came public, I bought it in this range and sold most of it up there. It then ran higher, and then every biotech stock in the world looks like this. But this is near all-time lows. Today was a big reversal day on volume for this stock. It's thin, but if it goes, this could be, and I'm telling you, my people, because of what they're involved in, they're the first drug company to cross the blood-brain barrier. Significant stuff may be happening. Again, this is a little bit on the bottom picking side, but if you're a long-term trader and you're looking for a cheap biotech stock that has huge upside potential, I'd be long this stock for a double, quadruple in the next couple months, and maybe tenfold in the next year. And so there's a lot of interesting stocks out there that look like that. A little low price. I'm accumulating a company called Milestone Scientific. It has a fantastic new epidural device that's better than anything on the market. that I had a big position in and down in here, sold it up here, and then I'm buying it all back in here. I think it's going to be a $2, $3, $4 stock, and on an intermediate basis, 8 to 10. I'm hearing big news coming out in the rest of this year. Anything else, folks? Any other questions?
Let me see. We got another question here. Let's see what it says. And the question is, oh yeah, what about cannabis stocks? Anything going on there?
Well, look, when you talk cannabis, you got to talk the leader in the industry, and that's Canopy Growth and Tilray. Canopy Growth dropped from 56 to 5. No kidding. 56 to 5, folks. And when a stock and a leader in the industry is down 90%, it's something to look at. Now, has it turned around? No. Did it break out of a falling wedge? Yes. And it's been up 4 days in a row. Is the volume big? It's not. That's what concerns me.
Would these guys be suppliers to Jersey? Because Jersey just opened it up, didn't it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think they did. So obviously between the people coming across the bridge to get it and the people in Jersey getting it, that's a pretty big population, right?
Yep. If I was going to buy something in the industry, I'd buy TGC.
Kind of like the Cadillac of the division.
Yeah, I would buy, just like in Solar Group, I like First Solar. It's the leader in the industry. Now, it isn't the price leader. I like Run too in that Solar Group a lot, but it's double. It came down and double bottomed here, so maybe it's a play here. So many good stocks in that group, but cannabis, solar, whatever, you know, there's too many. There's 12,000 stocks in the universe, and to try to get 3 or 4 that you like, for me, it's like being a kid in a candy shop.
Yeah, but it's a sector that gets volatile because there's a lot of back and forth news on it.
Oh yes, especially when it comes to energy and a substitute for oil that everyone turns to. When oil goes way up, usually solar goes up too. But in this case, this year it didn't happen that way. Well, we did make a lot of money in my group with First Solar when it broke out there, and then when it retested and broke out again here about 87, eventually going to 123.
The bloom came off the gold market pretty good. And are those gold stocks, do they have any upside or?
Well, here's the problem. Many of them had base patterns and breakouts. When they got to resistance, they got crushed.
Right.
I don't like these patterns. This is, I used to love AU. I put it out on the breakout here and it ran up nicely, but it got way back down to where we came into it. And the JNUG, the Nugget, these are ETFs I follow. I mean, they had a good day today, but these are ugly charts. In silver, I follow AGQ ETF. Look at that. It's back to the lows for the year. And the individual silver stocks look terrible.
The silver is much weaker than the gold.
They're both weak, but yeah, silver's even weaker. But then this is no picnic in this entire group. There's nothing in there I like. No, nothing.
Yeah, because it was on the bicycle for a while, but it definitely slipped.
You're not kidding. And with
Yeah.
breakaway, every one of them with these breakaway gaps to the downside, very troublesome.
Is there anything in the interest rate market, because we're going to have the Fed do an announcement tomorrow, and the whole 9 yards of people are on the sell side? Is there a contrarian deal here?
Well, the TLT, the 20-year Treasury bond fund,
Yeah,
has dropped from 155 down to 118 now.
right.
I don't see a lot of the beta isn't big, but take a look where this thing gone to and how far down it's come. You may get a bounce on this one to the low to mid 120s.
If they came up and they gave people a reason to think that that they've overdone it.
Yeah, but again, Jim, there's so many stocks every day that come
No,
up.
this is if you have if you just want to stick your head in the buzzsaw type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Why don't we wrap it up by, again, re-explaining a little bit about yourself and also a little bit about how they can get a hold of you. And certainly they should be getting on and taking advantage of that free opportunity to go to the trading room, because for God's sake, that's information that they would never have otherwise.
If you go to Thetechtrader.com, you'll see this. Once you get logged in, all you got to do is log in for free. Just go to, hang on a minute. You go to 1 second, I'm going to bring it up. And if you go to the Thetechtrader.com, just the site itself, you'll come into all members there. Here's the problem. I'm a member, so this is what I see. But that's not the main page. The main page is where you log in. If you go to, if you're not a member, which most of you aren't, log into Thetechtrader.com and you'll see a button in the middle that says log in or subscribe. And anyway, you can go to that list. Just put your information in and you get a 10-day free trial. And what you'll see once you log into the trading room is a room like this with nonstop comments from everyone in the room, technical comments about which one's moving. And I'll put in some fundamental stuff. Here I put in about earnings. And here I'll put in about what the Skyworks is reporting tomorrow, Advanced Micro is reporting tonight. And so I show them where futures are and where the commodities are as well as stocks. But when I come in the morning, I'll be presenting with a live video comment. But here, when I come off the air, you're going to no longer present it. Anyway, neither here nor there. And that's me, by the way, with my smiling face. When you log into the site, come in for free for 10-day trial, and you take advantage of this. As I said, one of my free subscribers came in and within 3 days was making enough to cover 3 years of subscriptions. So please join us. You have nothing to lose. Come in and check out the site for free for 2 weeks. I think you'll be amazed, and many people who come in do so well that they sign up immediately.
Yeah, there's no question about it. With regards to, there was a question from somebody on uranium, CCJ. Why don't we just give the guy his answer on that so he goes home with a fully packed suitcase there.
Very much like I said earlier, when a group is moving by the leader, I think CCJ is the premier, Kimiko is the premier uranium provider. Purveyor, whatever you call it. When this stock popped and platform, this is where I put it out at around 11. It's had multiple waves up, but let's face it, anytime the stock goes from 5 to 32 and it starts to come down, you got to be careful about your putting stops in. Now, for me, unacceptable will go below 24, in my opinion. You can stop half there and stop half under 21.5. But if it does rally back, your resistance and targets are 29 and 32. Beyond that, high 30s. I like it overall.
Yeah, overall it does look pretty good, but we'll have to see how this pullback works. I got a quick question for you. Say you're in the room and you have a stock like CCJ, yep, and you would like to get other people's view on it. Is it possible to say, hey, what do you guys think of
yes,
of CCJ?
Not only that, but you can private message anybody and give them ask them quite privately, or ask me, because I'm available. We just click on my name.
But you might see a guy out there who you think is sharp, and you go, "Hey, listen, this guy's pretty sharp. Why don't we give him get his idea on what I'm doing over
like
here?"
For example, this guy GC in Montreal.
Yeah,
he's one of my best traders. You go send him a private message, and just send him any message you want. And
I got you.
And he'll get it.
Yeah.
Or you can send me a message. And I can't send myself a message, obviously.
Right.
Click on my name and it says, just like I did here, private message.
Private message. That's how you communicate.
Yeah, but the other thing I want everyone to know is that people in my room are they're absolutely so, what's the word?
Generous.
Generous, that they like to mentor people. And so don't be afraid to ask anybody a question. They'll usually answer you, as long as you're not being sarcastic or being an ass. You usually get a nice answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for being here, Harry. We'll obviously be doing more of these upcoming. That'll be great. And again, everybody should get over to the website there and definitely take out that offer so you can get familiar with it. And then if it's for you, obviously you click and you get right into it.
Right. And it's www.thetechtrader.com. Thanks everybody for being here. And hopefully I'll see you in the trading room.
Okay. Thanks. Good. David, going back to you, and we'll be with you guys again soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, a ton of good info today. So just a quick reminder for everyone, be sure to subscribe to Timing Research on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. You can also just go to TimingResearch.com to get access to the recording for today as soon as I can get it posted, as well as any of the past shows and events. And I just want to thank my guests again for today, Harry Boxer of Thetechtrader.com and the Option Professor of OptionProfessor.com. Thanks, everyone.